another tough week. We'll get to Walter Gretzky in a second, but we lost our buddy Schultz this week, who I was trying to think, did Schultz ever come on the pod stop? I guess not, eh?
No.
Schultz and I started the same day, Chris Schultz, in 1998. So we were literally hired the exact same time, and our first day on the job as a TSN was our first day together. In fact, we did the CFL. I was hired to host CFL. Schultz was hired to be the new analyst, and we had a meeting at the Westin Prince Hotel in Toronto. And I was sitting in the lobby trying to find the room that the meeting was in, and this giant walked in. I knew who he was right away, but he didn't know me from Adam. And I'm like, Chris, and he's like, hey, do you know where the Pierre Trudeau room is? And I'm like, I'm James. I'm going to be the guy hosting. And he did right away, this huge smile comes over his face. Anybody who met Schultz had the greatest smile ever. And he gives me the bro handshake and the lean in. And I broke 2 ribs.
Yeah.
The giantest hands, and just one of the biggest men I'd ever met. I think he was 6'8",
I think.
6'8" is what I think. Yeah.
When he played for Dallas, he was 6'8" and 300 pounds, and 300 pounds of pure ass muscle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was just a beast of a man, and intimidating to a lot of people at first, I think, when you first meet Schultz. Because he could put the football scowl on too, but when he warmed up to you, he was the warmest, one of the funniest guys. He genuinely cared about everybody. I'll let you know. I have a few. So, did any of you guys have experiences with Schultz?
I would love to tell a story if I could.
Go please.
Okay. So my first experience with Schultz was with ESPN Classic when we were doing the Classic CFL games, and he'd hosted them. So it was a great thing for us. So that's how I got to know him. And one of the things that I found out about him, as everybody knew in the company, and I forgot about this, is that he was very old school. He did not own a computer. So all his notes were written out, and he said, Chris, can I email you? He goes, I don't have an email machine. That's what he used to call a computer, which is really funny. So, I mean, just that sweet guy, very, very chill, very kind. He'd often ask me, Lester, how's the music business? And I'd say, Chris, it's terrible. I'm at the terrible music business is terrible. But one story in particular, again, you talk about the bro handshake that almost broke your ribs. Well, we had a TSN staff party. It was one of the last TSN staff parties before we got absorbed by Bell, and it was at a place downtown Toronto. I believe it's Joe Badali's, and great time. Everybody's having a good time and everything. And I think we decided to move the party to another venue. So I'm walking up the street with a bunch of people, and I see Schultz. Now, I want to point out that we were definitely having a few drinks, and everybody's being responsible. But I see Schultz. And I say, hey, Schultz, how's it going? Great. And he gives me a high five and nearly kills me. It's like, oh, my God. Man. Like, I nearly died at the corner of front and whatever it was. But at the end of the day, when we got the news, and I hadn't spoken to him in quite some time, but a lovely, lovely guy. Give you the shirt off his back. And just it's a terrible loss. But it's great to have these stories because he was a great guy, as you said, gentle giant.
You guys have probably heard this, and I told it on TSN last week, but for our viewers that did not see that, or our listeners. So to what you say, Schultz, we start our first night together. And by the way, when you said he wrote out his notes, he wrote out every single thing that he ever said on TSN. And he would also write the name of the person. Like if we were at Super Bowl, he would first write, thanks, James, on the top of his paper, and then write the entire thing. Now, and I should say, he could ad lib. Like the odd time when we get in a situation where we had to freewheel, he could do it just fine. But that's the way he prepared. I make little notes. He wrote out everything word for word, memorized it, and then delivered it perfectly every time.
Did he do that when he was doing half times and stuff?
Yes. Right from the beginning, that was his thing.
Even half times and things like that.
Yeah. So, when we're doing a CFL broadcast, or we know in advance sort of what we're talking about. Schultz, you're going to take the Argos offensive line, or you're going to take, the Rams quarterback. And so he knows in advance what we're going to talk about, and that's what he would do. One of the more remarkable, so much work involved in that.
Of course.
But
he was so good at it, and he would he would get it word for word. So he had this unbelievable memory and a way to deliver it that felt natural. And he commanded the TV. Like, he would make up words, Schultz. That was another one of my favorite things about him. He would just make up words and throw like 8 syllables together, but he delivered it in a way that you would believe exactly what he was saying. Anyway, he didn't want to wear an earpiece to start. So the first game we did together, he didn't wear an earpiece. And he said literally, there's too many voices in my head already. And John Hines and Paul McLean were our 2 main producers, and Keith Pelly back then. And they said, Schultz, if you're ever going to get good at TV, you have to wear an earpiece. So about our second or third game, he agrees to wear an earpiece. And that's how the producer talks to you, of course. So they try not to talk to him much, because that is one of the few challenges in TV is, sometimes the producer's talking to you while you're talking, and you have a sort of left brain, right brain thing going on. So we used to do our chats right up to kickoff of the second half. So in this particular circumstance, Schultz was talking last, and he was talking for too long. And so I believe it was Paul McLean, also the late Paul McLean, producer, who yelled in Schultz's ear, Schultz, shut up and get it back to James. We're going to miss the kickoff. And this is what came out on air. Schultz going, guys, the Argos are going to have to get back in this game in the second half. They're going to have to establish the running game. Shut up, Schultz, get it back to James. We're going to miss the kickoff. He repeated exactly what the producer said. It was said in his ear. I think he thought it was his brain talking to him. I don't make that to belittle him in any way, because Schultz always made jokes about himself that he'd taken too many headshots as a football player. But he laughed so hard afterwards, and he loved that story so much that he would make me tell it. Like every year at Super Bowl, he goes, James, tell the one about the earpiece again, right? Because he became, John Hines said it in an email the other day, he was in many ways the face of football on TSN for 2 decades.
Yeah,
because there was no one, we went through hosts. I hosted, then Dave Randorf hosted, then Rod hosted. Matt Dunnigan was there for a long time on CFL, but nobody did CFL and NFL like Schultz. So he was our football guy for 2 decades. And, he's going to be missed so much. I wish he could know. He was kind of a recluse, Schultz, very private guy. Even at Super Bowls, a lot of times we'd go out, he wouldn't go out, he'd just stay in his room. But I wish he could have seen all the things that people said about him, like us here or people on Twitter, strangers. I don't think he knew how much he was loved and how much his work was appreciated. I really don't think he knew. Because like you said, Lester, he had a phone. We were at Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl together, I think 2019 or 18. And he had like a flip phone, like when you're watching a TV movie from 2008. And he was texting someone, and I'm looking over his shoulder, and it's only the numbers. Like there's don't you have any contacts in this? He goes, no, I remember, like he would just...
Well, he was because I didn't realize how popular he was and the whole panel was until I started going to Grey Cups. And you would see the way people would react when they would see him, and he couldn't hide anywhere if he was in public because he was so big. And people just loved him, and so I do think he did know he was loved, I'm pretty sure, but I agree. I don't think he realized how much he was appreciated at our place.
I just, the guy, I've been sad the last few days, and we have the funeral on Saturday, which I know I'll be sad for, but God, it just brings so many smiles to my face. The stuff that he would say. I remember in our second year, we were doing a panel for CFL, and I used the phrase, there was a running back for, let's say, the Bombers, a big guy. And I said, man, that guy's like a bull in a china shop. And Schultz had never heard that phrase before, right? And he said, I like that, bull in a china shop. And I go, yeah, it means just like you can't control the guy's knocking everything over. He goes, I'm going to use that someday. So we get to the halftime or whatever, and he starts talking about the guy, and he goes, we call this guy the China Bull. And I'm looking at my head, I'm going, like, what is, people are not going to understand what he's talking about. And I'm like, oh, I get what you mean, Schultz. You should China bowl in a China shop. He's like, China bowl. Oh,
what I was going to say is that maybe, I think we should find a way. I mean, for Darch as well, we should find a way to honor him. But for Schultz in particular, maybe there should be something called the Chris Schultz Appreciation Award, where somebody, because that's something that there's so many good people. And we do a good job of acknowledging people, but maybe there's some way we do something specifically in honor of Schultz,
Yeah.
Or we could do like a flag football game.
Sorry?
We could do a flag football game, James.
Oh, now you're talking my language.
You could actually show off if you have these skills that you have claimed over the years.
I've been retired for a few years, Buffy.
Oh, all of a sudden, no, I'm not a little rusty.
Ready to go.
The other thing I loved about Schultz is he just had nicknames for people. He would nickname them right away. Braden, one of our cameramen. Braden, has a beard back before beards were cool, and kind of an earring back before guy earrings were cool. And Schultz, first or second shift. Hey, you drug boy. He starts calling him drug boy for no other reason. Schultz was a very clean cut guy. And for that stuck for 20 years, every time he walks in the studio, hey, drug boy.
I've cleaned up my act, damn it.
Wow.
Oh, man, I love that guy. And I was gonna save this. I'm giving one of the eulogies on the weekend, but I'll tell you guys, he was also a very passionate guy, and in his romances. And the reason Schultz would send, I don't know if he did this all the time, but I know to at least one woman, this is many years back, he sent some very romantic sort of love letters. And I don't know if he was trying to woo her or woo her back if they'd broken up. Mm-hmm. And the reason I know this is because he sent them to me by mistake.
And you guys were together after that for a while.
This thing pops into my phone, and I can't remember her name. I'll just say, hey, Julie Schultz, can we just get together for coffee? You're so beautiful, and I just love spending time with you. And I'm like, how did he make this mistake? And so I sent him a text. I'm like, Schultz, I don't know how to say this, but these notes you sent a girl, you sent them to me. And he just writes back, oh, thanks.
I was wondering why she hadn't got back to me.
What's he going to do at that point, though?
Yeah. So,
oh my God, that's hilarious.
We love you, Schultz, so dearly. And yeah, man, I'm going to miss you. And a lot of people are going to miss you around here. And this all happened. It was a weird night at work because we were doing the Leafs game last Thursday, Puffy, and I got news about Schultz early. And I was kind of frazzled for that entire show. And then the news of Walter's death was announced by Wayne around 2 minutes left in the second period. And so we went through all that. And I don't want to spend too much time on Walter only because we don't have much time today. And so much has been said. We covered the funeral on the weekend. But again, just a guy that was beloved by everyone. The Day I Almost Killed Two Gretzkys, my first book, is a story about Walter and Wayne and almost hitting them with golf balls on successive holes. We told the story on television last week, Gino and I was playing with Gino and Walter 15 years ago. Walter, all Walter did was look for golf balls the entire round. You never saw him. He'd hit a shot and then he'd be gone. And we'd constantly yelling, Walter, Walter! And it was only that I found out from Wayne during the eulogy at the funeral that he did this all the time. And the reason he did it, he would gather these big bag of golf balls, every round of golf he played, take them home, hand wash them, and get Wayne to sign them. And then he'd give them away to kids.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, just and a lot of people don't know Gino Retta, who I had trouble keeping it together on the air. We were broadcasting the funeral on the weekend because Gino was having trouble too. Gino was really close to Walter, and Gino was extremely modest about his relationship. He didn't talk about it much. But Gino would host the Gretzky family golf tournament for many years. And one year there was a trip for two to Scotland for 2 weeks, I think. And Wayne bought it in the auction. And then Wayne called Gino off stage and said, Gino, I want you to have this trip. And you're going to take Walter. So Gino and Walter Gretzky went to Scotland.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
so,
No
know that.
idea.
yeah, just
Wow.
so Gino was very close with Walter, and I think you could see that in his eyes during the funeral coverage on Saturday. But sorry, I've been hogging this, Mike. But if anybody wants to say anything about Walter Lester or whatever, feel free to.
I've got this. I'm sure you can see it. That is the ticket stub for my game that I went to with for IMG back in the day, and those seats were very close to Walter Gretzky, and I was thrilled to meet him. Spent a few minutes with him just chatting. He was kind enough to sign the back of that ticket, and the man was a rock star. He had candies. He's bringing out candies to people, and they were loving it, man. This guy, he made you feel special. He made you feel special. Absolutely. Who am I? I'm just some guy, but he took the time, and the tributes that I'm hearing, I know they're true because it's exactly how he made me feel. What a beautiful guy. And as Wayne said at the funeral, the world would be a better place if there were more people like Walter Gretzky. So that's what I have to say.
Do you ever meet him, Stoff or Puffy? Walter?
No.
I never met him. No, I saw him.
It's
a few
funny.
times, but
One of those guys that it feels like half the people in Canada have met. Like when he passed away and we were doing the thing on air, I must have got 50 texts from people saying, I met Walter here, I met Walter there.
No.
And all the stories were fantastic. My favorite one, I believe it was Andrew Pelkey. I'll get this wrong. A constable from the OPP sent me a note. Constable Andrew Pelkey. So he broke into the OPP with Brent Gretzky, who was an OPP officer.
okay.
So
Okay.
early in their tenure, this is 2010. They're having the game between the instructors and the students at the OPP Academy, and it's the worst snowstorm of the year. Those guys only had a 10-minute drive from their barracks or whatever to the rink. They barely made it, and so they're warming up about to start the game, and there's the rink's empty, the streets are empty. It's a huge snowstorm, and there's one figure in the rink, and it's Walter. And Brent was caught off guard, and they called him down to the ice, and he's like, "Dad, what are you doing here? It's like the worst snowstorm of the year." And he's like, "Well, son, I hadn't seen you play in years, and I'm still a hockey dad, so I want to see you play."
That's
So-
awesome.
And so all these OPP officers are like, and they said Brent had tears in his eyes that his dad had driven 2 hours through a snowstorm to see him play a meaningless game
That's awesome.
because he just wasn't Wayne's dad; he was father to all the others as well. So
Yeah.
tough week in the sports world. With we've done far too many of these. It feels like over the years.
100%. 100%.
Tough.
Yeah.